Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal as Arthur Fleck in Joker and Joker Folie Deux offers a fascinating study in character evolution of a man pushed to the brink by societal indifference, mental illness, and his own disillusionment. In this video, I'll break down the film's stories and find what we can learn and apply to our own lives. If you haven't watched either movie yet, then I recommend doing so for a fuller understanding. Note that this video discusses sensitive topics around mental health and violence, and includes spoilers for both films. And yes, I am wearing a Joker costume since I'm going to be Joker for Halloween this year. Arthur Fleck is introduced as a troubled, socially isolated man living in Gotham, a city overflowing with corruption and decay. He's a failed comedian with a history of mental illness, living with his ill mother Penny. His psychological struggles are compounded by a lifetime of abuse, rejection, and trauma, most notably the discovery that his mother's claims about his father's identity were false, and that he was brutally adopted and mistreated as a child. These layers of pain build up to fuel his descent into madness. Arthur's mental health is a central theme. He suffers from a condition that causes him to uncontrollably laugh, which serves as both a coping mechanism and a barrier to social connection. This neurological condition alienates him further, making it harder for him to understand when his laughter is inappropriate. The ridicule he experiences because of his condition intensifies his feelings of inferiority, setting the stage for his transformation into the Joker. The Gotham depicted in Joker is a melting pot of societal failure. The rich are indifferent or outright hostile to the poor, and the social safety net has been stripped away, leaving people like Arthur to suffer in isolation. The social and economic class divide in Gotham has caused Arthur to be continually ignored and oppressed by the system, his frustrations growing until he ultimately lashes out. He symbolizes the marginalized individual who becomes a vessel for chaos due to an unforgiving world. His emerging persona as the Joker can be seen as a form of rebellion against this oppression, a rejection of societal norms, rules, and decency. Arthur's transition into the Joker is both psychological and physical. His transformation is sparked by a series of life events: being beaten by a group of teenagers, losing his job, discovering the truth about his mother, and finally shooting 3 Wall Street workers on the subway in self-defense. These acts of violence mark the beginning of his full embrace of the Joker persona. The laughter, once a symptom of his disorder, evolves into an expression of nihilism and anarchy. When Arthur finally becomes the Joker, he sheds his previous identity, symbolizing a break from the past and a fully realized rejection of the structures that have hurt him. The Joker's appearance, his clown makeup, deranged look, and wild eyes, reflects a man who has given up on common decency, embracing chaos and destruction. His smile becomes both a mask of maniacal joy and a sign of internal pain. Phoenix's portrayal here is a study in madness, blending vulnerability with unhinged intensity. Arthur's journey in Joker is deeply tied to his search for identity. For much of the film, he is in search of meaning in his life, but ultimately it's through violence and chaos that he finds a sense of power. This gives rise to the idea that identity in this film is fluid and often shaped by external forces, including trauma and the society around you. In Arthur's case, society's neglect of him directly catalyzes his transformation into the Joker. By the time we reach Folie Deux, 2 years have passed for Arthur Fleck in Arkham Asylum. He has gotten used to the monotonous routine of the inmates, and he lets the guards push him around. He's preparing to finally go on trial for his crimes, but he doesn't stand a fighting chance since he shot a celebrity on live television. The support for his release is polarized. So many people idolize him, and yet so many people despise him. All hope of both his mental and physical freedom seem lost. And that's when he meets Lee Quinzel, played by Lady Gaga. The title, Folie Deux, means madness for two in French, referring to a delusion shared between two people, the toxic relationship that is formed between Arthur and Harley. Arthur's psyche, while still fragile, has evolved from the lone figure of the first film to something more codependent. His descent into madness has, in a sense, reached a new stage, no longer just a victim of society, but now a symbol of chaos who has inspired others. Although Arthur is no longer a passive victim of society, the deep psychological wounds remain. He is a figure capable of commanding attention and admiration, especially from Harley, yet he remains utterly fractured inside. His relationship with Harley is a reflection of the loneliness at his core. Two people trapped in a shared delusion of grandeur, where both are inextricably bound by their own madness. The presence of Harley suggests that the Joker's influence and philosophy may now have an equal partner. Harley's own history of mental illness and abuse mirrors Arthur's to some extent, creating a dynamic where the two characters feed off each other's fantasies. Phoenix's Joker, as the catalyst of chaos, manipulates Harley's perception of reality to suit his own, reinforcing the idea of Folie à Deux, a shared delusion that makes their bond both dangerous and symbiotic. This evolution also marks a shift in Joker's character from an individual against society to an anarchist duo seeking to dismantle that society together. But that all comes crumbling apart real quick when Harley reveals to Arthur that she lied about her traumatic past, and when he finds out during his trial that his mother lied to him about his purpose being to bring joy and laughter to the world. He is ultimately heartbroken by these two revelations and feels pressure from the mob of people who believe that the Joker is real, that he and Arthur are two different people. But Arthur eventually comes to the conclusion that he is in full control of his Joker persona, that it's just an act that he put on for the people to actually care about him. The real Arthur, who is broken beyond repair, still lives inside him. It's not what the people wanted to hear, and Harley abandons him completely. Unfortunately, the damage of his actions are already done, and he still has to face the consequences. But even as he goes back to his mundane life in Arkham simply as Arthur Fleck, he can never truly escape from his past. He is eventually stabbed to death by a fellow inmate who was a supporter of his until he gave up on the Joker. Arthur bleeds out on the floor and is ultimately put out of his misery once and for all. Now, there's actually a lot that we can learn from Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. His portrayal was one of isolation, victimization, and the unraveling of a person who was once just the passive observer of the world around him. His descent into madness was a tragic commentary on the failures of society, mental health care, and the human need for connection. We've seen people like him in the real world who are mistreated to the point where they snap and end up hurting others. There's truly no excuse for any of their horrendous actions, but there is a root to every problem. Compassion and kindness hold immense significance for people who have experienced rejection and neglect throughout their lives. It can help restore their sense of dignity and humanity, reaffirm their value and worth, and serve as a bridge for connection. If we can find a way each day to make sure that someone feels included, to let them know that they matter, especially when they need it, that can help break the destructive cycle that they're likely going through. However, you shouldn't pretend to be someone you're not in order to get there, on either side of it. None of it should feel forced or fake. You are meant to be you, not anyone else. Not everyone will accept you, but there are so many people that will and already do. And those are the people worth keeping in your life. And the more you take care of yourself, the better you'll be able to take care of those people. So go out there, be the best version of yourself, and make someone's day a bit better. It will make your day better too. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps you understand these movies better and find personal insights. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself and pass on the message.